girl on fire. I'm not a victim, a girl on fire. I'll stand my ground, girl on fire. I've made a choice, I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I'm every woman. I have taken up arms and I choose to defend all that I hold dear. Independent and strong, you will not keep me down. You can't break me.
Lynette Oxley here for Tack Shack Tactical TV and Ghosts and Girls on Fire for our 16 days of action for no violence against women and children. I'm in the most awesome place with the most awesome lady. Welcome, Nell VanderLoo. At least I'm saying that right now.
Absolutely, Nell VanderLoo.
What an awesome place you have. It's called Lekker Plekkie in Afrikaans, and for my English viewers, it's called, well, nice little place.
Yeah.
If you want to translate
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
In any case, so thank you very much for talking to us today.
Welcome. I'm blessed to be here.
It's really a fantastic environment. It's probably our nicest interview environment ever. So
Boy, beautiful.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and your sister, because that's where the story really starts. What do you know about the accident, if you want to maybe elaborate on that?
So my story starts with, I have a sister, she's passed. She was about 2.5 years old. In 1959, there was a car accident. My parents were from the Free State, and they had actually lost everything. My dad had started a little bakery business, and that went bankrupt. So my sister and my mom, and my two sisters and my mom stayed with her parents. And then my grandfather, which we called O-Daddy, took them to go and see my father in the Free State. And near Heidelberg, in those called Transvaal, Gauteng now, there was an accident. The car rolled and my sister fell out and the car rolled on top of her. My mom ended up in hospital with, I think, 3 or 4 broken ribs. But yeah, when my mom told me the story, said she realized my sister had passed, and she gave attention to my older sister and my grandfather, and it was a car accident. And that is what happened. But the ripple effect of that is that obviously my grandfather had huge guilt because he was driving the car, and my father had huge guilt of, you know, not being there, and they were on their way to him. So yeah, and then 3 months later, my mom got pregnant with me, and all she wanted, she always tells me, she always prayed for little girl. Now, I was born the year after she had the accident, so I was born in December, 28th of December of 1960. And my sister was called Petronella Hiltje VanderLoo. And I was born and I was named Petronella Hiltje VanderLoo. And she became under Nelly and I was Nelly. So that was fine. I never really
understood
anything, but you know, you're a child. You don't know what that is, what it is. But on one Sunday morning, I was about 8, 9 years old. I woke up and I sobbed. I think I started to realize that there was another child. And what happened in our family was there was no photos of her. I can't remember seeing any photos of her.
Why do you think?
I can tell you why. It was my mom is a pleaser. And I asked her about that, and in my time that I started to heal, and she said whenever my grandfather would come to the house, he would kiss the photos and cry, and my father would look at the photo and cry. And it was, I think, she just said she couldn't deal with that. She couldn't deal with that. I mean, And then she just put the photos away. And so when I woke up that morning, and she was in the kitchen, and I can remember, vividly I can remember, she was putting meat into a dish to put into the oven. And I said, I'm so sad about my sister. And my mom was instantly angry and said, how dare I cry about somebody I don't know anything about, and sent me to my room. Only years later I realized I must have like knocked her feet off, and she was like totally unprepared for what I came up with. But as a child I just then shut down, and whenever it was spoken about her, she was under Nelly and I was Nelly. She was Nelly and I was Nellie. And life just goes on, but I never ever related to that name, Nelly. Even now saying it, I don't like it.
I can see that.
It just doesn't resonate with me at all. Yeah,
you
so
looked very different from her. She was you say she was a blonde.
No, she was dark haired and she had blue eyes. And my mom used to tell me, people would stop her in the street and say, oh, this child is so beautiful, she must be an angel. And here comes me, red-headed, very stubborn, feisty. My mom tells me the story that I was about 2 or 3 years old and I fell, and she picked me up and kissed me. I was instantly angry. I fell to the ground again and said, I'll do it myself. So that was that. And I grew up with, under Nelly.
In the shadow of your sister.
Yeah, very much so. But now if I have to look back at it, I wonder if it was really that. And my mom is 92, so a few weeks ago I actually spoke to her about it. She actually started to talk about it and said she needs to ask forgiveness from me. I said, why? And she said to me, but I should have never called you Nelly.
Why do you think, what psychologically, if you look at it now, what was going on in her mind?
I think she just wanted to fix the world. Whatever it would take to fix this situation. If it was to have another little girl, call her Nelly, and then everything will be fixed. I think she was just a pleaser and she would do anything to avoid pain. And I said,
we all deal with our pain differently, I suppose.
Exactly. And then when I said to my mom in that moment, when I held her hand, and I said, Mom, how blessed am I that you did do that? Because I could have been peered through the beach. But you called me Nelly, and I went through my journey, and part of the journey was that they never, because my parents were so poor and had nothing, the Johannesburg municipality at that stage owned the grave. So they would give a grave, and that had a number on there.
Yeah. Whereabouts is it?
In Westpark.
In Westpark.
And they never really, and I think they all just, because we are Dutch, sorry for all the other Dutch people, but they might understand, they would, onder the mat invegen, which means just sweep everything under the carpet and don't talk about it, and life goes on. And I think that had happened there. Eventually, later years, there was one little photograph of Nelly in the house where she's standing in a tree, a black and white photo, and that was the only photo that was ever shown.
So I've been to a funeral very recently in the Westpark Cemetery, and the one thing that really got me, we passed a lot of very small graves.
Yeah.
But you said so Johannesburg municipality paid for her to be buried.
No, my uncle paid, but the municipality owned the grave.
Okay.
So my uncle, my mom's brother, paid for the funeral and the whatever goes with it. But because my mother was in hospital, she never went to the funeral, so she never had closure. So later years, before even there was a tombstone or on the, she and my other sister, I've got 4 sisters, we're 6 children, they would go to the grave every month, and that's, I think, oh, really? She's not there anymore, but it took me a while to realize that my mom never had closure on that. So in my process of healing, it started actually when me and my husband had issues, and then you go and see somebody, and then you tell your story, and he tells his story. Oh, is that your story? Zoom in. You must be the problem.
yeah.
Let's work with your big problem that you have. And now, blessed am I that it worked out like that, because I worked a lot on myself then. And then the one therapist said to me, but then go there. Go to the grave and see what you feel like when you go there. Well, I was angry. I couldn't find that grave. That number was gone. I said, you see, God, she doesn't even exist. Not even in the grave she exists. There was I can't say it was 31 and 33 and she was 32. I said, you see, God, she doesn't even freaking exist. I am the replacement. And that hurt.
It does, because...
And it just hurt so much. But you know what?
It's part of your journey.
It doesn't. Things doesn't happen to you. It happens for you.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that. I can see that in the words now. At that stage when I was doing for therapy, I didn't understand that. And it was like 38, 40-ish. And then when I turned 40, in my 40th year, I said to my dad, are you putting a tombstone on, or am I putting one on? Because then in the process, he had already purchased the grave, and they were talking about it, and my mom always wanted to put one on, and he didn't want to put one on. I think he just couldn't deal with his guilt. And it was in that time that I said, okay, I acknowledge that I have a sister. So are you putting that tombstone on, or I'm doing it? And then he said he would do it. And he said, okay, but how would you want it? I said, I want Petronella Hiltje VanderLoo on that, because that is the full names, and that is the full names I have. I didn't want Nelly on there, and I didn't, because that didn't resonate with me. And then I came up, or I don't know, probably in therapy or whatever, I'm going to change my name. Because I was really named after my gran, which was, thank God, her name was Pieterke Hiltje. So I could have been Pieterke Hiltje, but they changed it to Petronella because of hopefully not being bullied or whatever. But she was always referred to Tante Nell.
Tante Nell.
Ah, I can do Nell. And because my dad always used to say to me, yeah, you would do anything just to be different, I had to make it N-E-L-L and not just plain. I had to. So I just dropped the I-E.
When did you do this?
Around 40.
40.
When we put the tombstone on, and when I was 40. And that really made me feel so grounded and who I am and everything. I thought of dropping the Petronella Hiltje, but you know how difficult it is just to change your surname back from when you're married. And I thought, now let's leave that as it is. That didn't bug me so much. I'm very proud of being Nell VanderLoo. I own it. I am who I am. And yeah, so that is when I changed my name. This was around my 40s. Funnily enough, I never really embraced my married surname.
What was your married surname?
Sardina.
Sardina.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why.
When did you meet this man? And
we were at school together. We were at school together, but we didn't meet each other then. It was when we both came out of the army. I was in the army after school for a year in George, which I loved. And then he came out of the army, and because of the bakery, I was working for my dad in the bakery. We met there.
Bakery, you can see all that. Very nice.
Nice. So yeah, we met there, and we started to go out, and we got married when we were very young. We were just 22 when we got married, but those years, that's what you did. You got married when you were very young.
But that was a new part of your journey, which is also...
Yeah, that was, I mean... Yeah, I got married. I had my first son we got married in 1983, and my son was born in 84. And life got on, and I've got a daughter. She was born in 1988, and then we brought in another girl into our family in the 90s. And life was good. We had our ups and downs and challenges and that, but then we were married for about 20 odd years. I think the 40s hits you, then you start to question stuff, not challenge stuff. You start to question stuff. Your late 30s, early 40s. And things just didn't work out for me and my husband. I mean, we had a company together. We've been working together in our company for the last 12 plus years. We had a graphic design company. But what had happened is that because of all my healing and all the stuff that I've been going through, I felt I wasn't seen. I wasn't being, I've always felt I wasn't good enough.
Because of you or because of him, or a combination of the two?
It was because I think my journey as such, but also what had come out is after we got divorced that he came out of the closet. And what I had to learn through my processes is that he's still a good man, but he wasn't a good husband for me. He wasn't a bad person. And there's many stories like mine of women that marriages don't work because of the husband coming out of the closet, and vice versa, but I can't talk about that. I can only talk about my experience.
Yeah.
And what I went through when that happened.
What went through your mind?
What didn't go through my mind? I felt that my 22 years of marriage was fake.
And it probably was in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I felt I wasn't good enough. I felt I was, I grew up not feeling good enough anyway, not with my sister's issues, and not thinking that who am I, and you question yourself, and sorry.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me is that I wanted to get married for life, and that was my picture, and it didn't matter what I did. My husband wasn't available emotionally for me. Wow. He wasn't there. No matter how much therapy you go through or what you do, he's just not there.
And it was 20 years of your life.
Yeah, it was 24 years of my life, because we dated for about 2 years. But your whole identity is gone. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you are as a mother. You don't know who you are as a person. You don't know who you are as a daughter. You don't know who you are as a daughter-in-law, because everything you look at and feel like, fake. You question everything. I say, one day I'm going to write a dark comedy about it. Because I said to him one day, and I'm going to say it, I said, if I didn't have boobs and I had a penis, maybe you would love me a bit more. Because he still loves me as a person, but he wasn't there it wasn't a husband-wife unity. And
he wasn't, somebody says to me, he wanted a toe fro, and it didn't work, so somebody that will be with him forever, his companion for life, and it also didn't work out for him. And,
no.
And that is that deep companionship which obviously was missing.
Yeah.
You were not his person.
I wasn't his person. And no matter what you did, you were never his person. You know what, he lives on our property right now. Because of COVID, things didn't work out for him. So we still have a good relationship. And he's not a bad person, but I had to learn that. But I am not a bad person either. And I also count. And that was my biggest learning that I had to do, is that I do count. I am not under Nelly. There is a under Nelly. There isn't actually an under Nelly. There's Nelly and there's Nell. And Nell was allowed to have a husband in her life, or that would care for her and be her husband. And she could be a wife. Yeah. And I could be a wife. So I'm very blessed that I have that now. We look.
It's difficult. What about the Mr. Price incident? Because I think that was that sums up for me.
Yes. So after I got divorced, when I got divorced, I didn't know he was gay. I thought it was all my fault.
And he probably told you it was all your fault at that stage, or not?
You know what, I'm my mother's daughter, so I just take, what can I do to fix it? And it can only be my fault. You know, I've got the Nelly story and it must only be me, and I didn't work through it all, and I pushed him away and whatever. So I moved out of the house. I told my children it was all my fault. That's why we're getting divorced. And I got a little flat in Fontainebleau. And I thought, okay, now I bought a new bed. I'm going to buy I can now go and buy whatever I like, linen or whatever. So I walked into Mr. Price in Cresta, and I froze. I've absolutely froze and choked up, and I thought, but I don't know what I like. He always liked this and that, and I thought, and I was looking, oh, no, I'm buying for me. And I literally, if I say ran, I probably just walked very fast out of Mr. Price, straight to my car, got in the car, and drove to my little townhouse that I had. And I know exactly where I was on Robbie Street. I turned the corner and I went onto Robbie Street. And in that moment, I had the most amazing epiphany, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And said, it's just a duvet cover. It's
But it's
just
my
a duvet.
duvet. It's my
I
duvet
know.
cover.
So if you choose the wrong color, at least you've learned something about yourself. Yeah. You know, you don't like yellow, or you don't like white, or you don't. But if you don't buy it, you won't know. And from that moment onwards, I started to do things and think, it's just a duvet cover. It's okay. If you've made the wrong choice, you can choose differently. It's not a marriage. It's not such a commitment that you are stuck with that for life. And that was for me a huge, 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 huge thing.
What also a paradigm shift.
A huge paradigm shift. I remember I bought flowers, and I love roses, but I rose bushes. And he always said to me, no, we're not planting rose bushes. It takes too much effort to do it. And I actually went and I bought a rose bush and I planted it in that garden. I started to do things that
Gave you pleasure.
Gave me pleasure, but also empowered me. And thinking, okay, if I don't like it, I can change it. And gave me some freedom to start molding myself. Looking back at it, that's what I wasn't thinking, oh, what can I do to mold myself? But it was little things that I started. But that was a huge moment for me when I realized that it's just a duvet cover. It's make a mistake. I started to order stuff on menus and thinking, do I like that or don't I like that? Because my mind was so in pleasing him in order to get love from him that I never looked at what I wanted. Or I never even thought about what I wanted. And yeah, I know I would buy a material and he would make a comment about it. So I would always think, okay, what material will I buy? Because I used to make some clothes. What material will I buy so that I could get a compliment from him? And it's like daunting if you then think about it when he's not there anymore, and that's not what you do anymore, then you've lost your whole foundation.
It's nearly like you get institutionalized because...
Yes.
If you understand what I mean with that.
Exactly. And it's not because it's been physically said to you, but I was so desperate to be loved and to be accepted that you start to zone in and read people and do what you think they would like you to do. And it was not only in my marriage, it was with friends, it was with family, it was with work, it was with colleagues. You would always, but from a young age, I would zoom the room, if I can put it that way, and make sure that I could please people in order for people to accept me for who I am.
How did you get to where you are now? Because you're blessed, you're happy. One of the terminologies that I wanted to ask you, what did you mean with family constellation?
Okay, so family constellation was one of the million therapies I did. I went to a workshop with Colleen Joy Page on something, and then she mentioned, you know, there's a guy called John that does family constellation. I think you will benefit from it. So what family constellation is, the easiest way to explain it, you work on the soul level of a family.
Okay.
You know, even when I explain it to people, you know, in the Bible they say from the 3rd to the 4th generation things will affect you.
Yeah.
So, most definitely family constellation works on that. The guy that developed family constellation is Bert Hellinger. He lived a long time, he was a missionary, and he lived a long time in South Africa with the Zulus, and then he saw what they did with their ancestors. And that was how he then developed family constellation, realizing that our ancestors has an influence on us. There's also some science behind that. I mean, why do you have sicknesses that are from generation to generation? It's just been, and then on that soul level, you start to work on stuff much deeper. So in a family constellation session, there will be a group of people. You will not tell your story. You will just say, I want to work on, in my case, it was me and my husband just got divorced, and I want to know how to deal with this. And then you would get representatives representing you and represent your husband, and they will step almost into your shoes. And it's the most amazing process that happens. And they will feel feelings and they will experience stuff. And what that guy once, he looked me in the eye and he said to me, do you want to have peace, or do you want to be right? Choose. I was right. I was divorced. I felt what I felt. All of those things. He says, you're totally right in that. And you're totally right to be angry and upset and all of those things. But do you want to have peace, or do you want to always be right? It took me a long time to get to that point of embracing, no, I want to have peace. And when you want to have peace, then you can't be in the victim mode the whole time. This has happened to me. And my Nelly story, and my father of my children that's gay, and there's a lot of other stuff we can add to that. But didn't happen just over a cup of coffee.
But you've got peace now.
Oh, absolutely. I am so okay with who I am that even in my relationship now with my husband, it's like two pillars holding up something. I am me, and he is who he is. I'm okay to be just with me, and I'm okay to be with him. And I'm blessed to be with him, but I'm so okay to be with Nell. I mean, for instance, his children live in Italy and in Spain, and he's going on holiday for 3 weeks now in Italy, and I say, please go. It's important when we get divorced. Very important when we get divorced, that parents spend time with their children alone and have time, even if they are adult children. Please give each other the space to be with the child or children alone and their grandchildren, and you have time with yours. Because in that you also honor the children. One thing I also had to learn in family constellation is I had to honor his ex-wife for making space for me. And I do that. She was the first. She was the first and will always be the first. And that's okay. And I honor her for giving me space, for making space for me to be in his life. And that's where the peace comes from. If you can allow stuff to happen. And do I get challenges?
Of course.
Of course. Do I lose it sometimes? Absolutely. But I can come back from that and I can feel at peace. And my whole philosophy is have faith, whatever happens is for the best. And do I want peace, or do I want to be right? And that is what I mainly talk about when I speak to women. My passion is women. I've got a very close feeling.
Tell us about your poetry and your program and your book and all the positive stuff.
So what happened with me on my journey in that flat, because my children didn't want to stay with me. My son was studying in Stellenbosch, but my daughters didn't really want to stay with me because I took it on me. It was all my fault when
they
we got
believed
divorced.
you because
of
when you
course
told
they
them.
believed me. So I'm very creative. I like to do, I'm not an artist, but I do creative stuff. I do.
Yeah, I can see
Spoken
around here.
Plakwes.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, so, and I sat at my table, at my dining room table, I actually think it was this table, and I thought, that's my go-to, is my creativity. And then I remembered my grade 1 teacher, as we got in the first weeks, she made a scribble, you know, like just sign. And I thought, just start with that. And I started with that, and that's how my journey of healing then started. And then things would come up, or somebody would say something. So I think somebody said to me one day, why don't you just learn to put yourself first? And I thought, no, that's not how we've been brought up. How do I put myself first? Yeah. And she said, you know what you do? When you make coffee for your family or for guests or whatever, make yours first. I said, no, I can't. I said, nobody sees it. Nobody sees that you're making your coffee first. But what does it mean when you put yourself first? I worked with a lady, just quickly, she had 3 children, or she has 3 children and a husband. When I said that, she said, I can never do that. I said, okay, let's start just moving it up. It took her 3 months to put her cup first, because we are so indoctrinated that we have to give and not.
It's very much, I also grew up in an Afrikaans family.
Yes.
It's a very specific way.
It's selfish to put yourself first.
It is. Yeah.
And it's not that what we mean by putting yourself first. It's just when you start thinking about yourself, and that is what I had to do, and that's where my whole book comes from. When people say to you, you must love yourself. I can't do that. Even in the Bible, there's a verse that says, love your neighbor as yourself. I thought, oh, maybe I should rather say, love yourself as you love your neighbor. Because I couldn't resonate with that. And then in COVID, I started to think, oh, maybe I must write something and look at my journey that I did. And then a friend of mine, I said, but I don't know what to call it. I said, pomegranate here, because I've got a thing with pomegranates. And I said, why don't you call it kindness? Because your line to everybody, when you speak to them, it says, be kind to yourself. And that's how Embrace Self-Kindness started. And in Embrace Self-Kindness, I've done doable action steps, like making your coffee first, like the kindness chair, where you have a chair in your house. If you don't, you can have a specific chair, or you can just have a chair in your house that you put a cloth over it, and then you're in your kindness chair. And when you're in your kindness chair, nobody must bug you. And you can even teach your children to do that when they want me time. Just go and sit in that kindness chair. Don't ask questions. You can sit there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. As a mother, you can then go to your child and say, are you okay? Would you want to talk about it? But for me, it was just making an effort. Although I was alone in my little townhouse that I stayed, I still made an effort to go and sit in a specific chair when I just felt so overwhelmed and just be, I didn't call it kindness at that stage. I just said, let me just have some me time and be okay with that. So in my book, I do all these little things. The scribble is in there, creativity. I went to one therapist, she said, you need to go for a brisk walk. You need to work it up to a little bit of a puff. So I talk about that and how you can do it differently to make some time for yourself. And just have some joy.
You've obviously made, if I look around us, there's a lot of joy around here.
Absolutely. My big dream was to have a labyrinth, and I've got a labyrinth.
What is the meaning for you of the labyrinth? Because when I met you spoke about that.
A labyrinth is not a maze. A labyrinth has a specific purpose, or a road that walks into the center of the labyrinth, and it's a way winding yourself out. You cannot figure out the labyrinth when you stand here, how to get there. You actually have to physically walk the path to get to that. And that is being in the moment, being mindful, I sometimes walk it as a meditation. I can often walk it when I'm angry, which I'm not that much anymore, but you feel frustrated or whatever. The labyrinth just somehow takes that from you, and that is what I want to share is the labyrinth, and that is what Lekker Plekkie is. People will come and have a cup of coffee on my stoep. Come and, if you feel overwhelmed, or I've got a friend coming just now, and she just says, I need to come and sit on your stoep and have coffee. And yeah, my grandchildren would say, Omi, hierdie is regtig 'n lekker plekkie.
It is a nice little place.
Yeah, Omi, this is the
awesome.
best place.
So, when is your book done?
I've got my book. I self-publish, but it's also a bit of like, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should do it. So, what I'm doing now, people that I've shared the book with, is said, I wish you rather would do it with us, because it's not always easy to do it alone. And what I've done in the book, I can just, sorry, I've done like, these are reminder cards.
We'll take some photos of it just now.
And the purpose of the reminder cards is that if you are in a relationship, or if you are in a situation that you want to be kind to yourself, but you can't tell it, even maybe at work. You know, you're in a situation that you maybe have a difficult situation at work, and what can I do to be kind to myself? So each reminder card is not words saying what you are working on. It's just a little reminder to say, you know what? I am putting myself first. Or this one that I'm looking at here is NICE. Now, I've got an acronym for NICE. So NICE stands for, you know, we've been taught, be nice.
Yeah.
Come now, be nice. We even say to our children, be nice. Give that to little children. Be nice. Give the toy to that child, because he's asking for it. Now, I say NICE stands for, where I say no to I, then your cash or your care runs empty. Be kind means that I count and you count.
And if you don't care for yourself, you can't help anybody else.
That is true, but how do you care for yourself if you don't know how? And I didn't know how, because I was so zoomed in what I could do for others so that they could be nice to me, or they could be loving to me, or they would accept me. So I didn't know. I did not know what it meant to be compassionate or loving or even kind to myself.
So do you offer help to other women, or where are you standing right now?
Where I'm standing right now is I'm writing my course so that I can get to more women. I would talk to women anytime when I've got an opportunity. I would share when people would tell me their story or whatever, and I would always say, what can we do to be kind to yourself? I'm not physically doing one-on-one coaching or something like that. I'd rather see myself as a guide than a coach. And the reason for that is, if you look at a guide, if you go to the game reserve or something like that, they know where the kudus are, or they will show you out something. And I see myself as a guide. How can I guide you back to you?
So you're doing a program that...
Yes, yes. I'm doing it, and it's going to be hopefully live online by the end of November. And then in the new year, every month, we're going to open up Lekker Plekkie for a labyrinth walk and a coffee on the stoep.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, so we're looking at probably the third Saturday of every month from January going onwards. And it would be, I would put something on the Lekker Plekkie Facebook page when it will be there. And then, yeah, it will be limited to about 20 people that we can manage on the stoep, and do some creative work, or maybe do a workshop on something. But that is, I want people to come down the mountain in Hekpoort and just feel...
It does have that feeling.
And come to Lekker Plekkie and walk the labyrinth and just feel life is not so bad.
That's fantastic. What is your message to ladies out during the 16 days of action? What would your message be?
I'm putting this down so I wrote so that I can really remember what I want to say to people. For these 16 days, if women can look in the mirror and say, in these 16 days, I'm going to be kind to me. And if you can remember, what I'm saying to you now is that, do you want to have peace or do you want to be right? Because in many ways you are right. But if you want to have peace, then you have to look at that. And then I'll give you a little tip that really, really, really worked for me. And if I may, I would look that way. Start to identify your emotions. And there are only 4. It's glad, sad, mad, or fear. Now, it could be, I'm frustrated. But what is underneath that? I could be frustrated in the traffic because the traffic lights are red and I've got to get my kids into school at time and I'm irritated and they've been not doing what they should have done. But go deeper than that. And I had to do that because it was fear. Fear that my children will be in trouble at school. Fear that my children will be angry with me. And that was my biggest healing process. If I identify my emotion, name it. I made a commitment to myself to check in with me more than once a day. And then make choices when you know your emotion. When I was angry, what choice can I make in this anger? In my whole divorce thing, my one friend said to me, are you never going to get angry about this? And I did get angry at some point, but then I understood why I was angry, and my anger was very rooted in sadness. So if we can identify our emotions, we get in contact with who we are. Because I was on autopilot, that was much better. But to go and really commit to that. And gratitudes. Even one gratitude a day. I can remember writing down, I didn't skip that red light today. And that was the only thing I could write down for that day. Or it was, okay, yes, I'm enjoying this cup of coffee. Because it's so difficult to write a gratitude when you're in a space of feeling the victim, or if you're in a space of being in so much pain, then gratitudes are last thing on your mind. But for 16 days, be kind to yourself, identify your emotions, and at least write one gratitude down.
That's absolutely awesome. And we will definitely put all of your contact details, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
And then if somebody wants to come and join you in this absolutely fantastic environment, they can contact you.
Absolutely. And women are really welcome, and I'm not excluding men, because there are men that also need to be kind to themselves, but I can't speak for men, and
Yeah.
I am a woman. But if you're really down and out and you need to come and walk the labyrinth, please contact me, because you are always welcome, even if it's not the 3rd Saturday of the month.
Great, thank you very much. It has been absolutely awesome
Thank
to speak
you,
to
Lynette.
you.
Thank you.
It was fantastic. Nice speaking
I'm so
to you.
blessed. Thank you so
Same here.
much. Thank you, thank you.
And Lynette.
sister, a friend, I'm every woman. I have taken up arms and I choose to defend all that I hold dear. Independent and strong, you will not keep me down, you can't break me. I'm a girl on fire, I'm not a victim, a girl on fire, I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire, I've made a choice, I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. Countless hours on the range, I am responsibly armed, I am your equal. I've empowered myself, I have practiced and trained, fear won't control me. With my sisters in arms, we will make ourselves heard, we'll stand together. I'm a girl on fire, I'm not a victim, a girl on fire, I'll stand my